The Senior Care Protection Act just cleared. This is what every U.S. senior needs to know today. Drop what you're doing, because what I'm about to tell you could move hundreds, maybe even thousands of dollars back into your pocket this year without changing anything. A significant new law has just advanced through the United States Senate chamber. And if you're past age 60 or you have a parent, grandparent, or someone close who is, it impacts you personally in a direct way. This covers your retirement dollars, what you pay for prescriptions, your Social Security payment, how safe nursing homes are, and how well your savings are guarded from scams. Here's the piece almost nobody is saying aloud. Not every perk in this bill happens automatically. Some only start working once you take the right steps. Some come with deadlines, and others require you to update details with the proper agency before that window shuts. Skip the process and you lose the cash. It's honestly that straightforward today. So today, we're unpacking each major change in the Senior Care Protection Act using plain, everyday English for you now. No complicated legal talk, no partisan fluff, no headaches. Only the information you need so you and your family can see exactly what you qualify for now, what's different, and what to do next to safeguard your future fully. Stay with me to the finish, because the most important next steps appear later in this video today too. And you really don't want to overlook them. Why this measure exists. The context you must understand first. For decades, older Americans have quietly struggled against a system that just wasn't designed with their needs in mind ever. Medication prices that made 0 cents whatsoever then. Care homes running with nearly no accountability. Cost of living boosts that barely kept up with real monthly expenses. Retirees deal with each month, plus a growing wave of elder scams stealing hardworking Americans' savings they spent their whole lives building up again. These were never small annoyances. They were major crises unfolding quietly in millions of homes across the nation. Still, for years, lawmakers treated these problems as background noise. The Senior Care Protection Act is among the most wide-ranging pieces of older adult legislation approved in a generation so far. It reaches into nearly every part of life that matters most after turning 60 today. Healthcare, housing, money, mental wellness, caregiver help, and personal safety. And we need to explain it carefully because the news cycle races by so quickly for many viewers. Headlines flash and fade, but the real-world details, the parts that hit your wallet and your health, almost never receive the attention they truly deserve anywhere. That shifts today. First, prescription drug price reform. Real savings at pharmacies now. Let's begin with prescriptions, because this is one of the bill's biggest victories, and it's been overdue for a long time for many seniors. For years, Medicare was legally barred from bargaining drug prices straight with drug makers directly. Consider how ridiculous that is, really. The country's biggest buyer of prescription medicine wasn't permitted to use its scale and purchasing power to push prices down for the people it serves. Private insurers could negotiate prices. The Veterans Affairs Department could negotiate too. But Medicare, covering more than 65 million Americans, wasn't allowed to. The outcome was simple. Seniors in the United States paid some of the world's highest prices for the very same medications that people in Canada, Germany, and Japan purchased for only a fraction of that cost at pharmacies every month. The Act expands and accelerates that pricing reform for seniors everywhere. With the updated rules, Medicare can bargain on a much wider list of medicines, and the negotiated prices will arrive sooner than the old timeline promised ever. So what does that mean day-to-day now? If you're paying $200, $300, or even $500 each month for meds for diabetes, heart issues, blood pressure, or arthritis, there's a good chance those bills will drop, not someday far off, but on a phased schedule that starts rolling out now, and you may see relief soon. It also caps yearly out-of-pocket drug costs for Medicare beneficiaries nationwide. That means there's now a firm limit on what you can ever pay in 1 year for prescriptions under this program, no matter how many drugs you need or how pricey they get. Millions of seniors who once had to choose between refilling prescriptions and buying groceries will finally get real breathing room because the cap stops runaway costs. Life-changing for many. Second, Social Security updates. a truer COLA and sturdier funding ahead. Now let's talk Social Security, because this topic gets people heated, and for good reason in retirement conversations everywhere. Social Security has been retirement's financial foundation in America ever since 1935 began. It was created as a promise. You work, you contribute, and when your working years finish, the system backs you. But over time, that promise felt shakier too. The yearly cost of living adjustment, called COLA, is meant to shield your benefits from inflation when prices rise. Each year, the Social Security Administration reviews inflation numbers and adjusts your monthly check to match. But here's the issue seniors have been raising over and over years. The inflation formula used today doesn't match how seniors truly spend their money monthly. The standard measure tracks spending by urban wage earners and clerical workers instead. It counts things like gas, electronics, and work-related expenses too. But seniors buy differently. They spend a lot more on healthcare, prescriptions, and in-home help, and those categories climb in cost faster than almost anything else in our economy. The Senior Care Protection Act tackles this head-on by urging adoption of an inflation index built specifically to reflect senior spending habits each year. That means your yearly Social Security adjustment will finally reflect what your everyday life actually costs in today's economy. Over time, that could add hundreds of extra dollars to your pocket each year, too. On a fixed income, that piles up quickly. The bill also confronts the long-running worry about Social Security's long-term finances. For years, experts warned the trust fund might run dry in the mid-2030s, which could have triggered automatic cuts to benefits. Nobody wants that. The bill strengthens funding mainly by raising the payroll tax cap, so higher earners pay more into the system over time. This steadies Social Security not only for today's retirees, but for your kids and grandkids too also. Third, nursing home overhaul, better staffing, true accountability. Let's shift to nursing home changes, because this section doesn't get enough attention, and it definitely deserves it from everyone watching. If you or someone you care about is in a nursing home right now, or you're planning ahead for that possibility, what happens in those buildings matters a lot. The uncomfortable truth is, nursing home abuse and neglect in America has remained a persistent problem too. Reports from the Department of Health and Human Services have shown for years that a troubling share of facilities were cited for serious violations nationwide. Too few staff, sanitation, medication mistakes, and in the worst situations, physical and emotional harm to vulnerable residents. Under the Senior Care Protection Act, nursing homes that take Medicare and Medicaid dollars, which includes most of them, now face far stricter staffing standards across the board today. The updated rules require minimum staffing ratios, meaning a set number of trained caregivers must be on hand for every resident in the facility. It may sound technical, but in real life, it means your mom, dad, or partner will have an actual person available to help them right when they need it. Too little staffing has driven countless tragedies inside care centers, and this bill targets that problem directly head-on now. Penalties for safety violations are climbing sharply too here. Before, fines were so tiny that some operators treated them like a normal cost of staying open today anyway. That ends now. Fines are now much higher, and repeat offenders can lose Medicare and Medicaid funding altogether, which for most facilities amounts to a business-ending consequence they can't survive for long. This creates a strong financial reason to follow the rules and treat residents with respect. There are new transparency rules too. Nursing homes must share inspection reports, staffing data, and violation history, so it's easy for the public too. So when you look into a facility for yourself or someone you love, you'll have real facts, not just the shiny brochure they slide across the front desk. Fourth, elder financial fraud defenses. Shielding your lifetime savings. Now let's focus on something that still doesn't get the attention it truly deserves anywhere. Elder money fraud. This is a quiet epidemic nationwide today. Every year, older Americans lose tens of billions of dollars to scammers, con men, and financial predators out there. These schemes show up in countless forms. Calls from phony IRS agents, Medicare tricks, bogus investments, romance scams aimed at lonely widows and widowers, contractors who grab a deposit then vanish, and even relatives or caregivers who quietly empty accounts of someone who trusted them completely. The FBI has repeatedly said elder financial exploitation is among the country's fastest-growing crimes, and victims often feel too embarrassed or overwhelmed to report what was done to them in the end. The Senior Care Protection Act sets up a funding stream to push back. That translates into more federal investigators trained to spot and prosecute these cases, more help for victims to recover and get support, and tighter coordination among federal offices, state police, and financial institutions. Banks and credit unions are now encouraged, and in many situations required, to flag suspicious activity in senior accounts and to follow clear procedures for reporting possible exploitation. This matters because banks are often the first place to notice warning signs. A sudden big cash withdrawal, repeated wire transfers to a strange account, or a new name unexpectedly added to a long-held account today. Those are warning flags, and financial institutions now have the tools and duty to act on them quickly too. The bill also pays for education campaigns aimed straight at seniors, because the best protection against fraud is knowing how it works. When you understand the tricks, you're much less likely to fall for them again. Fifth, housing and aging in place, remaining in the home you love. Let's talk housing, because for many seniors, the home they live in is their biggest asset and the center of daily life for them today. Being able to age in place, growing older among your memories, your neighbors, and your community is what most people truly want for themselves. But the truth is, most houses weren't built for the later years of life at all. Stairs turn risky. Bathrooms without grab bars become hazards. Doorways too narrow for walkers or wheelchairs become barriers that steal independence day after day. And the changes required to stay home safely can cost thousands of dollars. That many retirees just don't have available. The Senior Care Protection Act greatly increases funding for home modification assistance. Using grants and low-interest loans, eligible seniors can get help to add ramps, widen doorways, install walk-in showers, improve lighting, and make kitchens easier to use every day. These aren't fancy home upgrades. They're simple safety fixes that let people stay independent and avoid being pushed into a care facility before they're truly ready to leave home. The bill also puts money into expanding affordable senior housing widely. Communities built with accessibility, healthcare access, and social connection in mind. Because there's something people don't realize at all. Chronic loneliness for older adults can be as damaging to health as smoking 15 cigarettes each day. That's exactly what research has found. Putting resources into housing that keeps seniors connected protects physical and emotional well-being, mental health access, lowering the barriers. The Senior Care Protection Act also contains key provisions to expand access to mental health services for Medicare beneficiaries. Right now, getting mental health care through Medicare is often confusing, costly, and limited. Many therapists won't take Medicare patients because reimbursement rates are simply too low, and stigma around mental health stays especially strong in older generations who grew up in a time when these topics were never discussed openly at home. The bill aims to remove barriers by boosting reimbursement for mental health providers who see Medicare patients and by expanding telehealth options, so seniors in rural areas or with mobility limits can get counseling from home when needed most. Grief, loss, chronic pain, and fear of dependence too. These are heavy emotional burdens that millions of older Americans carry every day. Asking for help isn't weakness, it's real wisdom. And this bill helps counter an outdated mindset that insists the opposite still. Seventh, caregiver support. At last, acknowledging families behind the scenes. Now let's talk caregivers, because this subject gets overlooked in nearly every policy debate, even though it touches tens of millions of families across America every single year, quietly. Right now, about 53 million unpaid family caregivers live in the United States right now. Sons, daughters, spouses, siblings, and friends who've accepted the enormous job of caring for an aging loved one, often while working full-time and juggling their own families and health every day. The impact is staggering. Caregiver exhaustion is real. Depression among caregivers is very common. And for decades, these people received almost no financial help, no formal training, and little public recognition. The Senior Care Protection Act changes that. New tax credits are now offered to family caregivers, helping them recoup some of the money they spend on a loved one's care costs. There's funding for caregiver training so family members handling complex medical care at home can do it safely each day. And expanded respite care options let caregivers take short breaks without feeling they're abandoning their loved ones or failing their duty. A rested, supported caregiver is a stronger caregiver, and that leads to a better life for the senior receiving that care too. This is a win for everyone involved. 8th, Medicare expansion, dental care, vision, hearing. Now let's cover the part of the bill that's been making major headlines lately. The wider push to have Medicare include dental, vision, and hearing services too. Right now, basic Medicare doesn't cover routine dental care, routine eye exams, or hearing aids either. That's a big gap, because these services aren't just cosmetic stuff. Untreated gum disease is linked to heart disease, diabetes complications, and declining cognition too. Vision issues raise the risk of falls and accidents. And untreated hearing loss is one of the strongest modifiable risks for dementia later. This bill makes meaningful progress on that front today. While full Medicare expansion is still a political fight, the bill adds subsidies to help beneficiaries pay for hearing aids, which often cost thousands of dollars. It adds pilot programs that expand dental access through federally qualified health centers, and it widens vision care through community health efforts. It's not everything advocates have demanded, but it's still meaningful movement in the right direction from here. What you should do right now first. Next steps. Now, this is the most important part of the whole video, so listen closely here. Not everything in this bill happens automatically. Some benefits need applications filed. Some require you to update your records with Medicare or Social Security. Some have sign-up windows that you don't want to miss. Begin with your local Social Security office or use the Social Security Administration website online. If your state offers a state health insurance assistance program, and every state does, schedule a meeting with a Medicare counselor. This help is totally free, unbiased, and designed to help people like you understand changes exactly like these right now. And here's a crucial warning too. Be very cautious with anyone who calls, texts, emails, or messages you claiming they can help you apply for new benefits from this bill for a fee or personal details. Scammers act fast. Within days of major legislation, con artists start building pitches around it to steal seniors' Medicare numbers, Social Security numbers, or bank information before anyone knows better. Remember, real government services are always free. The Social Security Administration will not call you and demand action. Medicare will not ask for credit card over the phone. If anything seems off, hang up, close your browser, and call the agency using numbers. Closing thoughts. Why this matters now. Pause and think about your life for a moment. Think about the worries that kept you up at night lately. At the pharmacy counter, deciding which prescription to fill this month because you couldn't afford them all again. Watching a parent struggle in a facility that's too understaffed to give care. Getting a call from your bank about a transaction you didn't recognize. Sitting alone on a quiet afternoon, wondering whether anyone truly understands how hard this stage of life can feel for you. This bill is not a miracle solution. No single law can fix everything alone. But it is a serious, substantial effort to improve life for older Americans in clear, measurable ways today. And more than anything, it sends a signal that senior issues are finally being noticed and taken seriously after years of feeling ignored by leaders. There are still fights ahead. Change takes time. Budget battles return every year. The groups that profit from the old system, drug companies, careless nursing home chains, and financial predators, won't surrender easily without a fight. They'll lobby hard. They'll sue too. They'll try to erode this progress little by little. That's exactly why it matters that you stay informed, stay involved, and stay connected always. Because the best safeguard for any law is a public that knows what's at stake, understands it, and refuses to let progress be taken away. Knowledge gives power.